Hey James, can I get a sound test, sound check? Just see if you can hear me okay at this volume and if the music is a good level in the background. Yeah. Okay, sounds all good. All right. So if you're curious, I'm just burning a little sage incense. It's a Japanese style Morningstar brand. It's a very pleasant but not too perfumey incense. I still only burn like an inch because I don't like it to get too strong and to make it hard to breathe or anything. So I just like to make the air nice and fresh. The type of incense I use to meditate with is different. It's a Tibetan medicinal incense. It's supposed to help you focus and help with your internal energies. I find it's very relaxing stuff, but I don't like it as much for yoga as for meditation. And I find that the Tibetan incense is it's a little more earthy smell, so it's not necessarily as widely loved in terms of the smell. It's more medicinal, right? So it's not as pleasant as the Japanese one that I'm using right now. Okay, we're going to get started in just a moment. Hey, welcome everybody. Namaste. This is Josh back again for some more yoga. We're going to start with a warm-up exercise before we get into announcements and whatnot. As people are just kind of filtering in and settling in to their practice. So let's start, those of you who are here, with the feet about hip width apart. And looking to the right, come on the balls of the feet. Look forward, come down. Looking to the left, come up. Center. Right. Center. And the left. Back to center. Keeping the heels down, look up. Center. Down. Center. Up. Center and down. Back to the center, leaning the head to the right. And then over to the left. And over to the right. Chin up a bit. Chin down a bit. Back to center, lean to the left. Chin up a bit. And chin down a bit. And back to the center. Half circles with the head from side to side now, nice and light. And relax and roll side to side. And back to the center. And shifting to your left foot, lift the right. Shift and lift. Lift. And one more. Okay, and thumbs in the light fist. Roll the shoulders back. And forward. Just to the collarbone. And back. Then big arm circles forward. And back. And thumbs in the light fist, elbows out. Circle in the elbows. Other way. And interlace the fingers. Wrist rolls. Other way. And some waves. Reverse. Rubbing the palms. Hands to the kidneys. Let's take the hips around. Other way. And back to center. Shifting to your left foot. Right leg comes across. Opens out. Another leg in. other leg opening out. And then inwards. Okay, heels together, toes together, rub the palms. Bend the knees, rub the knees. Keep the knees together, take them around. Other way. And then standing up. Ankle rotations. Other way. Other foot. Other way. And heels together. Feet angled out. The toes, relax the arms, gently twist. Side to side. To center, heels out, feet parallel. Bend the knees, drop the tailbone, and then rock gently forward and back. And back to the center. One leg with both arms and the other. And elephant waits its trunk. And back to center. Now we're going to shake it all out, shaking out the fingers, wrist, forearms, and so on. Take a jump, shake it out. And again, jump, and shake it out. Okay, just give me 1 second. I have to close the window. There's some construction outside here. Okay, welcome everybody. If you're just tuning in, actually I didn't mention this before, but we're getting into some low back stabilizing, low back relaxing and toning. There's a lot of yard work that a lot of us have been doing the last few days, I imagine, and that amounts to a lot of tension in the low back. So we're going to do a little bit of a low back therapeutic class today as the focus. Let's start in a wide-legged child's pose. I just have a few announcements, but you can start in wide-legged child's pose for now, and I'll just give you the announcements while you're resting in the pose. So this is the last session in our in our winter term, and we're starting our spring term next week. So I hope that you can continue practicing with us. We've got funding for the next year, so that's a really great win for us. So we can continue working virtually like this. And since we're working virtually, one thing that we could do to really expand our practice, as a lot of you have been coming for some time, you've gotten familiar with the poses and the sequences quite well. One way that we can expand on that is to introduce some basic props that you likely have around your house. And you don't have to get too formal about it. There's like a formal yoga chair that I'd recommend, but today I'm going to use a bench. And if you have any type of chair, even a bench, this is like not ideal at all, but I can make it work. And so whatever you need, just find some kind of a bench to work with. So today's going to be a little more technical because we're practicing a little bit differently than usual. So we're going to be using some more props. So please grab a chair if you can. Grab some sort of strap. Now I have like the primo top of the line yoga straps that I use in my normal practice, but today I'm going to use my bathrobe belt just to make the point that you can use whatever around your house as a basic tool for your yoga practice. It doesn't have to be anything too formal. I used to use a brick instead of a yoga block. I've used a can of beans but I recommend if you have a yoga block to use it. If you don't have one, invest in a yoga block. Like, there's so much you can do with it. If I haven't sold you on yoga blocks yet, I hope I can in the next session. It's a great tool to have. All right, let's begin. So we're already in wide-legged child's pose. And let's take it now into a bit of a side opening. So walk the hands over to the right, opening through the left side body. Just breathe into that whole side. Now, it varies how far over you go. Some people take it pretty extreme. Some people keep it lighter. You could be more supported. You could have a block under your forehead. Okay, let's take it over to the other side. And then back to the center, walking it in. Bring the knees in. Now I like to kneel on a blanket. Just comfort. And then some hip circles. You can release some tension in the hips. Sometimes that can release some tension in the low back too. Once you're over to the right side next time, stay over on the right side and just lean into that hip. And then taking it around. And then leaning to the left side. And back to the front. Hands forward and hips forward. Bit of a tuck to the tailbone. Tone the core. And lowering slowly down. Reaching out with the left hand. Arms straight or bent. Peel up the right side of the body. And then coming back to flat. Sliding in the left, reaching out the right, straight or bent. Peel up the left side. And then coming back to flat. Now looking to the right, bring your arms back like you're sunbathing. You're going to bend the left knee and see if you can grab that foot. This is where a strap can come in handy if you can't quite get it. Although it does take some practice to be able to lasso the foot. Usually by the time you get it, if you haven't been practicing it, the pose will be done by the time you lasso that foot. To go deeper, for those of you who can go deeper today and want to work a little harder, tuck the tailbone, you can lift that left thigh up, but not the left hip. All right, let's release that side. Looking left, bend the right knee, catch hold of the foot, squeezing it in, tuck the tailbone for sure. Maybe both hands, maybe a deeper tuck, maybe even lifting that right thigh. then releasing. Bringing the hands beside the chest, elbows in, neck long. Curl up into a light cobra. Try to get long in the spine, more than curled. We want length. Long back of the neck. Lower halfway down, press up to all fours. Keeping the hips above the knees, walk the hands forward for puppy pose. And then tucking the toes under, keeping the knees bent. Bring the hands in a bit. We're going to come into down dog with the knees bent. And walk in the dog. Start straightening the legs if that's comfortable. Inhale, come forward to plank. Holding regular plank or kneeling plank. And then hips back, heels up, heels down, heels up, and heels down. Now bend the knees down to the floor. Swing your right foot forward, coming into a kneeling lunge. Keep squaring the hips to the front. That means the right hip is naturally going forward, so we have to keep it back. The left hip is naturally going back. We've got to keep it forward. You can stay with your hands down. You can come up onto a block, onto your thigh, or reach up high from here. If you prefer to do the lifted lunge, you can. But for the low back, having the knee down can sometimes get it more specifically into the front of that hip. So sometimes staying down in the back knee might be better in terms of the low back. And also going too deep in a back bend can compress the low back too, so you might not go all the way up. And then shifting the hips back, swing your right leg back, left leg forward, sinking the hips front. Might come up, or you could stay forward. You might lift up in the back leg. And then shift it back, come back through, downward facing dog. And then from here, please walk your hands towards your feet. Bend the knees and come into a ragdoll position. Take whatever bend in the knees you need to be comfortable. You might need to keep weight in your hands. And then very slowly start to work your way up. If you want, you could use your hands to walk up your legs to support your back, or just roll up. And shake it out. As I was saying earlier, today we're going to get a little technical with a few yoga props that you can find around your house. So if you haven't gotten some sort of chair or tall stool, some sort of belt or yoga strap or a rope and a blanket. Please get those things if you want to really get as much out of this class as you can. Next week, we're starting the new session, and of course, I'm going to make it propless and very accessible. We're going to have some new people joining us in the class, so it's definitely going to be way less technical. But today, if you can, grab some sort of strap, some sort of blanket, some sort of chair. We can do some really neat stuff. Once you have done that, please find a wide stance. And turn the left toes in, right toes out, arms up, toe in the back leg, and then arms wide, warrior two. And bring your right forearm down or the hand to the floor, left arm over, extended side angle pose. Anchor from your back leg, inhale, come up. And changing sides, right toes in, left toes out. Arms up, toe in the back leg. Exhale, arms wide, warrior two. Forearm down or hand down, extended side angle. Anchor from your back leg, draw yourself up. Turn your left toes in, interlace the hands behind you, roll the shoulders back, lift the heart, tone the legs, hinge forward to flat back. You might only get about this far, that might be as far as is comfortable for you. Keep the legs toning, inner thighs pressing back. If you can take it forward and round forward, you might be able to draw your arms over top too. And then firming the legs, slowly draw yourself up. Release the hands in front and interlace. So we're going to release the hands behind, interlace in front, turn the heels in, and turn the palms forward. And then knees wide, arms up for goddess. Imagine there's that post in front of you. Inhale, grab the top. Exhale, press it down to the solid ground. Good, pressing up. Now from here, touch your thumb and index fingers together. Arms out to the side, bend the knees wide. You bring your right forearm down, left arm over top. Stretching out through the side, an extended goddess. Back to the center, other side. Back to the center, sitting down low or moving a bit side to side if it's comfortable. If your low back's real sensitive, you might have to skip a couple things. Back to center, walk the hands forward. Heels out, wide-legged downward dog. And from there, walking over to the right. Maybe hinging deeper forward. Coming back up over to the left. Maybe forward. Back to the center. Maybe deep forward. Then inhale, rising up to standing position. And bringing the feet in. Okay, shake it out. Okay, remember that chair I was recommending that you grab? Please grab said chair and place it at the top of your mat. So if you've been doing sun salutations for a long time, it uses the same muscles pretty much over and over again, a lot of great muscles. But as a lot of you know, if you use the same muscles in the same way, your muscles kind of plateau. You don't advance as much unless you're shaking it up. So often in an aerobics regimen, you'll have a fitness training that will shake things up quite a bit. So this is a way that you can do sun salutations a little bit differently. It's a little bit easier, but it changes what muscles are being worked, so it is a little bit of a different workout. So finding that chair in front of you, we're going to do a sun salutation with the chair. So find about a foot distance between you and the chair. If you couldn't find a chair, you don't have one, that's too bad you don't have a chair, but you can do it without, you just do a normal sun salutation. Here we go, starting with mountain pose. Go nice and slow. And inhale, take the arms up just like normal. Exhale, fold, bring the hands down onto the chair and allow yourself to round forward. Then inhale, come into flat back. And this time you can use the support of the chair to hold. We'll hold flat back here. So this is a supported flat back position. So it really allows you to lengthen the spine without having to worry about overextending or having to work too hard. Part of mastery of the yoga pose is basically clocking hours in the pose. So sometimes just finding a position, even if it's easy, you don't feel like you're getting that deep yoga workout. Your body and mind's familiarizing with the alignment of the pose, and so you're getting a lot of benefit, but in a subtler way. Now from here, folding forward, perhaps you can get the crown of your head to the floor. You might, to support your back, you might bend your knees. We'll take just a second here. And then taking the hands back to the chair seat, taking the feet back into a plank position. Let's hold this plank if you can. Now most people's planks are like 80% better than their chaturangas. So let's try chaturanga with a chair. And it's a little bit easier, so you can usually hold a better looking, better aligned chaturanga. And then from there we come into upward dog. You can keep the heels up, or you might flip your toes under. Let's hold this one, keeping the core engaged. It's easier to hold upward dog when you have this support under your hands. And going over the feet and back through downward facing dog. Sometimes called wall push, because you usually do this pushing into a wall. Great pose. Now you might find that this is a little easier than usual, probably do. If you take your feet back a little bit, you might be able to get more of a stretch in your calves. And then bend the knees, hop forward. You can
usually go nice and light. Actually, let's try that again, because normally we want to land without an audible sound, but it's hard when your hands are on the floor with a chair. And be careful you don't tip, but you can probably land much lighter. Let's give it a try. Here we go. That was a bit better. And then flat back and fold. Then inhale, sweep widen up. Exhale. Namaste. So this next pose, this is the one that you'll really be missing out if you don't have a chair. This is one of my favorite poses. Best way to release any tension in the hips, low back. Prepare for pigeon. Makes your pigeon much better and safer for the knee. It's not that hard to do. I like to have a little soft block to kneel on in the pose. It's totally extra. Don't worry about it. But anyway, standing in front of your chair, you bring your right foot onto the seat of the chair, just like so, and then flex your toes up towards the knee. Then come onto the side of the foot so you have a 90-degree angle bend at the knee joint. Then hinge in the hips forward, keeping your toes, your foot, your leg active like that. And holding that chair. Now this might be enough for you. If your low back is killing you, this is probably enough. But if you want to take it further, you hop this left leg back. Keep this external rotation here. The toes flexing towards the knee helps to stabilize the knee, and it also keeps consciousness in the whole leg so that you don't kind of get dead consciousness in the knee, which tends to cause knee injuries in the long run when you're just not conscious. So extending your consciousness to your toes helps to keep to protect your whole leg, really. Possibly you might bend your back knee to the floor. Some people find that that is too much. Or not comfortable, or not safe, so be careful. I like to use something soft, a blanket or a block under my knee. Take your time coming forward, baby hops. And then other side as you're ready. Left foot up, toes up. Leg wide, 90-degree angle, hinge forward. Pop that right leg back. Keep the consciousness in the toes, the whole leg, whole body. Can't master a pose until your baby toe is fully conscious and involved in that pose. So whole body experience. Maybe coming into a kneeling position. Okay, hopping forward and release. Okay, this next one's more for the upper back, but if your low back is suffering, the whole back is gonna suffer, so you gotta loosen up your upper back too. It's ideally done with a block. If you don't have a block though, there's another way to do it, don't worry. If you have a block, take it the wide part between the base of the hands. If you don't have a block, have your fingertips touching, but the palms apart. Okay, elbows on the seat of the chair. If you don't have a chair, you can use the floor. It's just different. Okay, then walking the knees back, elbows forward. Try to get the hands pointing up, and then start to drop the shoulder blades down. Good, then slowly coming back forward and up. Okay, next thing. Now, this is going to look super easy, And some of you might not even want to do it because it looks so easy, but you can make it very hard if you want. That's definitely not an issue. But watch, check it out, give it a try, and I'll show you how you can make it infinitely harder if you want. So if you take your chair near the top of the mat and then sit on it in such a way that your right leg is off the chair. So basically, ideally the back of the chair, if you have a chair back, would be on your left side. And you sit on the chair with just your left butt cheek. Then from here, you lean forward and take your right leg back. So my chair is pretty high, so I'm not getting as deep a stretch here as I would with a lower chair, but I can work more now on squaring my hips to the front. Now I feel it deep in there. Then you can take your arms up, tuck the tailbone. And remember I was saying how a part of mastery of a pose is body familiarity. So just being in this position, because we're on the chair here, we can sustain this position. Now, obviously, to make it harder, you just take the weight off of the chair. We're going to hold this for a whole another minute. If you wanted to, you could put 1% of your weight on the chair, or you could keep 100% and work on alignment and stretching through this back leg. So you can work on tone. The chair is a minor assistant, or you can work on stretching and familiarity in the pose. Engage the core, deep tuck. Okay, to come out, lean forward, and then swing that back leg forward. We'll take that on the other side. So sitting with for me, it's my right glute on the chair, left was off, and then the leg goes back. I start by leaning forward, tuck the tailbone, engage the core, and then from there, I can start to go up, getting that deep stretch in the front. Hips square to the front. You could take a really deep back bend. I know people can grab their back heel in this pose. I don't recommend it, but you could go as far as you want. This pose is so variable. You could be sitting here eating popcorn, or you could be sitting here sweating like crazy. I don't recommend the popcorn one, but you get my drift. So hips square to the front, tucking deeply. Try to relax the front toes. The heel tends to want to lift up. Just keep that heel down. Another 5 or 6 breaths here. Okay, lean forward and swing that back leg to the front. Okay, let's move the chair off to the side for now. We will need that again. Please. Coming towards the top of the mat, sun salutation, B position. So bend in the knees, sitting back, chair pose. Exhale, straighten legs, fold over to the front. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Plant the hands, step walker, jump back. You could go right to downward dog or through vinyasa. Please bring your feet a little closer together. Take your right leg up and over and scorpion tail. Today we're coming right forward into pigeon pose. So right leg swings forward, right into pigeon. Squaring the hips to the front. Tucking the tailbone. You could stay upright or lie forward, which takes it a little deeper in the hips. More breaths this side. Okay, coming on back through downward dog. If you wanted to throw in a vinyasa here, go for it. Give you a second. And from the downward dog, feet a little closer together. I can take the left leg up and over. Please swing that leg all the way forward for pigeon pose, left side. And again, it can be upright or bowing pigeon as you prefer. Couple more breaths this side. And coming back through into downward dog. Then please bend the knees down and sit back. Okay. Let's find our belt or strap apparatus and make our way please around onto our back. If you have a yoga block, bring your yoga block as well. Thank you. All right. Lying back, we're going to draw our feet in. So we can just touch the heels, feet parallel, bend the elbows, and then roll up to a little bridge. Now, if your low back is really challenging today, just come right onto a block on the lowest height and just relax on that block. You want to come up a bit higher if it's comfortable. Okay. Otherwise, holding and toning here for a few more deep breaths. And then slowly lowering down. Hips down, hug your knees in towards you. And then find your belt and place both feet up into the strap or belt. Legs straight if you can. Now, if you're working with lower back difficulties, then have your legs a little further down. And for lower back support, you take the left foot flat. To go deeper, left leg is extended. Activating what we call the leg loop. It's a movement of energy or consciousness where it works like a loop. The back of the leg, the loop is up, the front of the leg loop is down. So there's continuous kind of flexing in that manner. That's on both legs. Now let's take that leg out to the side if it's possible for you. Space requirements and prop requirements allowing. And then coming back to the center. Now this is probably the best one for the low back release is keeping the hips flat. Take the leg a bit to the left. I don't recommend putting a block under your head like I am. I just want to make sure everything looks good in the camera. most height you really want under your head in the pose generally is about a blanket. Now let's take that leg and continue into a twist. Keep your right shoulder down, looking right if it's comfortable. And coming back to the center, changing legs. And if your low back is sensitive from gardening, etc., then that right knee bend can make a difference. Keep those leg loops, as we talked about. Now please take that leg out to the left side. Back to center and over a bit to the right side. First, keeping the hips flat on the floor. And taking it over to the right in a gentle twist. You have to get it all the way to the floor. In fact, I don't recommend it for most people. Reaching left with your left arm. If you like looking left, complete the twist in the head. And then coming back to the center and release. Hug your knees in. You can go knees wide or happy baby if you like. So you have the option to do a regular Viparita Karani legs up position. You could have the hips on a block. If you want to try a really great version of shoulder stand with the chair, you need a blanket and a chair in order to do it safely. Otherwise, just take your legs up. I don't recommend doing shoulder stand without a blanket at any point in time. Basically, in shoulder stand, when you go up like this, the whole weight of your body drops into your neck and it overstretches your tendons. And over time, your tendons don't stretch back and you end up with a neck injury 15 years down the road. And it feels fine for 15 years and then it doesn't. So if you want to do yoga really long term, grab a blanket. If you're wrong, you just wasted 30 seconds at making your pose more comfortable. But you're saving your neck. So play it safe. If you're going to try shoulder stand, please use a blanket under your neck. At least one. My teacher uses 3 or 4. I use 1, and then if you fold it enough times, you can get it pretty thick. Now, ideally, what you'd use are these. I assume you don't have these at home, but these are yoga pads, which you can use for things like that. I use them for a ton of stuff, meditation, just a ridiculous amount of things. Okay, so once you have your blanket set up, if you're giving shoulder stand a try, you want to lie on your setup, but your head is not on the blanket. So this is kind of an awkward position at this point. But you draw your chair in so that you can get your legs onto the chair. And so you're like this. Make sure your shoulders are still on the blanket. And then from there, you lift up, you roll your shoulders under. You end up in this nice supported shoulder stand. My neck is not strained at all, but it's getting a gentle stretch. And my legs are working, but they're not overworking, so I can hold it for a long time. Try not to turn your head because that can strain your neck. Now, if you're in legs up position, you could do that at the wall as well, finish in that pose. If you're on a block, you could come down into Shavasana now. Feel free to hold shoulder stand. This is sometimes called the fountain of youth pose, which is why it's worth taking the time to put all this together, because it is a great pose. And then whenever you're ready, coming down, in the Ashtanga series, in the Ashtanga practice, you hold for 25 breaths. It's a little bit longer than that. Now, if you have a yoga chair or a chair, you can also do your Shavasana with your calves supported on the chair seat. You might have to turn it sideways if you have a chair back. Not all chairs work well for that, of course. But find a comfortable position for Shavasana. And this supports the low back quite nicely for final relaxation. Now we're all finished for time. So if you have to go, then thank you for joining us this session. It's been such a pleasure being able to connect with you even in this way. I hope that you can continue in our new session. Again, it won't be as technical, but if you can get some of those props, they will be handy in the long run, I guarantee you. If you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to receive those, and I want to make the next session even better, as best as we can. So any feedback is appreciated. So thank you all again. It's been such a pleasure. Namaste. And if you want to stay for a Shavasana with me, I'm going to do a little Shavasana for a couple minutes. Now, please feel free to stay as long as you can. As I always say, that's a big part of Shavasana, is being able to hold it for longer and longer periods of time. Whenever you're ready to get up, by all means, get on up. Thank you again for coming, and hope to hear from you. Namaste. Say hi, Maggie. Come on. Come on. Come say hi. Come on. Come on. Maggie doesn't want to get up. Sorry, guys.